Good evening and welcome to Sports Today on Cricket Chit Chat with DASGUPTA. After he reviewed the England cricket team for the T20I series, after he previewed what the likely 11 could be for the first of the five T20I matches, Deep is back with me to talk about the Indian lineup, discuss their strengths and weaknesses, and we look back at some numbers as well. India have been in phenomenal T20 form over the last couple of years. But before we delve into the stats, numbers, and analysis, here's Irfan Pathan telling you why you should download the How's That app.
क्या आप भी किसी अपने सपने मेरे तुम्हारे टीम 11 पे टीम बना रहे हो और बच्चों के साथ खेल रहे हो? हमारे साथ खेलोगे? हाउस पे खेलो लेजेंड्स के साथ, हमें हराओ और जीतो डबल कैश. Log on to houset.com and win real cash.
Right. It's going to be an exciting segment. The way they played in the test series, and now you come to the shortest format, and you also look back at the last couple of years before we go into the combinations of the team and what you think could be the likely 11. India have done remarkably well. Come to think of 2020, their winning streak in the shortest format only ended in Australia. While we'll just get our producers to quickly pull up that graphic for you and show you how splendid India were in T20 internationals. Obviously, the first game that they played in 2020 was washed out, but after that, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, that whole unit went on a 9-match undefeated streak. Obviously, that also included a couple of tight games where India won them via super overs in New Zealand, blanking the Kiwis 5-0. But this is absolutely great to see, Deep, and India are a par to reckon with. So it's going to be a fascinating contest when you think of it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no two ways about it in terms of how good England's been in white ball cricket and how good India's been in white ball cricket, especially T20. And we mentioned about the winning streak, and T20 is a format where it's very difficult to be as consistent as India has been in the last so many series. So it's going to be wonderful. I think it's going to be very, very close, and we mentioned that yesterday as well. England's a good side, so is India, and it's going to be a very hard fought series.
So you mentioned momentum, and you will also, before we throw up the graphic for batsmen, we'll also like to take you through numbers in 2019, because in 2019 India played a lot more T20 cricket. You look back at that number, 16 matches. There was a bit of a lull. They lost those series against New Zealand and against Australia at home. There were concerns, but there were then, after drawing that series against South Africa, India won. India have since won 5 successive T20I series. This has been a phenomenal run. Come to think of the when we speak of the Indian T20 teams in the past, when we've done that, there was often question marks over their strike rate, but they have been able to mend that, especially at home, and also the way they played in New Zealand.
True. I think the way they played in New Zealand was, again, I think Virat came out and said that India needs to play more fearless cricket, and I think that's how they've been playing the last few series. As far as strike rate and all that is concerned, I think that also will be addressed, because in the middle overs, obviously you had Virat and Rohit, but after that, there was a bit of an issue in terms of Indian middle order or low middle order in T20 cricket or white ball cricket. That's where I think Hardik coming back is huge, and Rishabh, the kind of form that he's in, because what India really lacked, I believe, in T20 were power hitters in the middle or low middle order to finish off games. I think with Hardik back, and also Rishabh with the kind of form that he is in, I think that would make a huge difference.
Right. And since you're talking of the batsmen and the firepower, here's a look at the batting arsenal India are blessed with. Really, this is exactly what Deep DASGUPTA was talking about, that firepower, the real batting heft. Shikhar Dhawan and KL Rahul obviously back for this format. Shreyas Iyer, Surya Kumar Yadav making his way to the Indian team after a dream run with Mumbai Indians. So that's, I'm sure you would have had some headaches picking up your playing 11 from that lot.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, if you look at that, I mean, they're really good quality. There's a lot of experience, a lot of quality there. Newcomers like Surya Kumar Yadav. I think obviously we all know what he can do in this format, even though he hasn't really played international cricket as yet. But in IPL for last couple of seasons and even other domestic tournaments, he's been absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of an headache in terms of who do you pick and who do you leave out.
Mm. Even as we speak, I'm sitting sitting here wondering how wonderful it would be. This is a great headache for the captain and the coach to have to pick up players from that lot. But before we move on to the next segment, I also want to quickly take our viewers through the list of all rounders. Short and crisp, not as many. Not This is not as all rounder laden as the England team league, but we have three really good players. Like you mentioned Hardik Pandya, what he does with the bat. Obviously, you'll be interested to see whether he's bowling in this series. He's bowling a lot more often. And then you have the two test match heroes from this series against England. Fascinating lineup, that too.
True. I mean, I guess the biggest question mark at this point in time is whether Hardik Pandya is going to bowl or not. He hasn't really bowled apart from those 3 overs in Australia. I have seen him bowl a bit, but not a lot during those practice sessions. So I'm not too sure whether he's ready to bowl in a match situation or not. But the moment he starts bowling, I think that's going to be a huge bonus for India.
No, so when do you assess? I mean, you've seen cricket from so up close as a player, as a commentator. What sort of feelers would you get what sort of feelers do you look for to see whether a bowler is completely ready to do that in international cricket?
I think with someone like Hardik, I think it's more to do with his action. I know for a fact that he's trying to change his action a bit, make it a little more, suited to his body type and his, functioning of his body. So I'm not too sure, to be honest. And hopefully before England, we might just get him, see him bowl a bit. But yeah, till the time he doesn't, and hopefully, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, T20 World Cup if he's ready as an all rounder, that'll be a huge bonus for India before the T20 World Cup.
Right. And also to think of the wicket keepers, like again, England had quite a few options for wicket keepers. You have two here, Rishabh Pant obviously, and Ishan Kishan again, doing remarkable not just in the IPL but also in the domestic season, in the domestic circuit in the shorter formats. You reckon there could ever be a chance where through the series, because you're looking at the T20 World Cup also, you're building up to the World Cup, or maybe you could see these two blokes play together sometime?
Yeah, I mean, they can. I mean, especially Ishan, the way he played in the IPL, I think he's matured a lot as a batsman and as a player itself. Obviously, KL Rahul, I mean, obviously we've got him in the batsman list, but yeah, I mean, he's been keeping wickets last couple of years now in the white ball format. So KL Rahul would be part of that group as well. Unfortunately, Sanju Samson misses out. I see a lot of questions regarding Sanju Samson. Well, he's young. He's still, 24, 25. I'm sure he'll make a comeback. I think he did get a few opportunities, but yeah, couldn't capitalize. But that does not mean he still is a good cricketer. I mean, it does happen that maybe in the first go did not score runs or did not grab his opportunity, but I'm sure he's young enough and he's talented enough. I'm sure his time will come and his opportunities will come again, as far as Sanju is concerned. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's too bad that at this point in time, as far as white ball cricket is concerned, there are quite a few wicketkeeper batsmen and good wicketkeeper batsmen around.
Yeah, but in that perspective, does it also add more pressure on Ishan because Rishabh has sealed his spot really in across formats with his batting as well as wicket keeping. You talked about how sharply he has improved as a wicket keeper. So anyone coming in with that kind of batting firepower and as a wicket keeper, he'd be under more pressure to just prove himself as a batsman. So does that complicate things for someone like Ishan Kishan, who's also trying to make his mark?
Yeah, I wouldn't think so because both Rishabh and Ishan played under 19 together. They were in the playing 11, both of them together. I think so. They have played together in the same playing 11. So I think they know how good they are or how they can fit in. So I think it's nice that there is competition and both of them young, talented, same age group. So this is really good.
Right. And now we come to that segment on the bowlers. Obviously, this T20 game, you need those impact bowlers, and India have a few there: Chahal, Bhuvneshwar, Navdeep, and Shardul Thakur. Deep, your take on that, because you already have two spinners among the all-rounders. So,
Yeah.
you're okay with that side
Yeah,
of.
absolutely. But obviously, unfortunately, someone like Natarajan is not fit enough. I believe so is Shami. Uh, Obviously, Bumrah has taken a break for personal reasons. I mean, you look at that and good to see Bhuvneshwar back. I mean, the kind of experience that he brings to the table, and good to see him bowl again and be fit enough. So Bhuvi is back. Chahal obviously is there, and then you have the good part. If you look at those bowlers, most of them can bat a bit. Someone like Bhuvneshwar can bat. Deepak Chahar and Shardul obviously can bat. So yeah, it's really good to see that they've picked bowlers also who can bat a bit. That can help in a T20 format. That can help.
And also, Varun Chakravarti, he could not travel to Australia in the first place because of a shoulder injury, and he could not clear the fitness test. I mean, the 17.1. We've got lots of questions on that in the past as well. 17.1 and the 2 kilometer time trial. Obviously, bowlers need to complete that in 8 minutes and 15 seconds. For the others, in 8 minutes and 30. So, how do you see this, Varun Chakravarti? He had about 3 months to get fit, to put himself up, but there were some reports also from the NCA apparently, and he was still selected in the team. So
Hmm.
how do you see this for Varun Chakravarti panning out? What to
It's
perform the guy?
I mean, I don't know. It's very interesting. Like you said, it's been a while. I mean, he was obviously he couldn't make it to Australia because of injury, even though he was picked. And same now, it's been quite a few months now. So I'm not too sure where that injury, what's the real status of that injury. We know that he's injured, but an injury which goes on for 2 3 months, that doesn't sound very good. I mean, I don't know whether that means getting operated or not. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, it'll be unfair to speculate on something as serious as an injury, and when we're talking about careers here. So rather than, I mean, I wouldn't want to speculate, but I hope he gets fit because, I mean, again, he's somebody who showed that he's got value and he's got the talent and the temperament to play at this level, and he's different and he brings something different to the table. So would like to see him what he does at this level, but unfortunately, as of now, he's not good enough.
Right. Now, fair enough. But this is, even when you talk about a team without Varun Chakravarti right now, Tina Trajan, again, Rahul Tewatia, we'll have to wait to see what his update is. But it still makes for a pretty compelling reading to see what sort of squads can line up from here, what sort of playing 11s India can line up from here. But we'll quickly get to Deep's playing 11. Deep has worked out an 11 for us. Deep, take it away with your
Yeah,
11.
listen, obviously the first big question is between KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma, and Shikhar, who would open. I've gone with KL Rahul, just looking at his numbers in white ball cricket, and obviously Rohit Sharma, he walks in. I mean, there's no debate with Rohit, and I think with KL as well. Shikhar, I mean, he's had a really good IPL last season. He's looked good, but unfortunately, I think one of them would have to miss out, and in this case, as far as I'm concerned, it's Shikhar. Uh, Again, I mean, I think his strongest format, as far as Shikhar is concerned, is ODI. I think he's extremely good in ODI, and especially when we're talking about ICC tournaments. But if when you're talking about T20, I'd rather go with Rohit and KL Rahul at this point in time. So that was the first question answered as far as I'm concerned. Then Virat Kohli, number four. Obviously, the number four was a question mark as well. Surya Kumar Yadav or Shreyas Iyer. In T20, I'd go with Shreyas Iyer because Surya Kumar Yadav, because I think Surya at number four in T20 more often than not, you've got around 8 10 overs, and I think Surya skill set are more suited for that kind of a role as compared to Shreyas. So that's the reason that I've picked Surya over Shreyas. Again, I mean, this is T20, and I think Surya is skill set suits this format more. At five, Rishabh Pant. At six, Hardik Pandya. And hopefully, I mean, I don't know whether he's bowling or not, so I have to pick. I have picked five other bowlers apart from Hardik. which for me is Washington Sundar, because he's someone again who can bowl overs in the power play and in the middle overs. He's a good batsman, somebody who can bat at number 7. So Washington Sundar, he comes back and straight away he gets into the playing 11 as far as I'm concerned. Deepak Chahar, Navdeep Saini, and Yuzi Chahal. Now, obviously, Yuzi Chahal, the leg spinner. Shardul between Deepak Chahar or Navdeep Saini can pick Shardul as well. But I've picked Deepak Chahar because of his wicket-taking abilities with the new ball. Then, Navdeep and Bhuvneshwar can bowl in the death. So that just opens up, someone like Deepak brings a different angle or different dimension to that bowling attack. He's a wicket taker with a new ball. So that's the reason I've picked Deepak Chahar. And obviously, when you look at that playing 11, the batting looks decent. The batting depth looks decent. Deepak can bat, Bhuvi can bat, so Deepak at number 9 looks good. Shardul again is not a bad idea at all. But somehow I would go with Navdeep Saini. Death over bowling, Navdeep and Bhuvneshwar, new ball Deepak, and maybe an over from Bhuvi and over from Navdeep. Washington can bowl in the first 6 as well. So yeah, so that's my playing 11.
No, it's fascinating too because it's the 3 pacers Deep has picked up. They have the ability to, and pacers who have the ability to pick up regular wickets in T20s in the subcontinent. They're worth their weight in gold, and Deepak Chahar did that too. It had not only the IPL, of course, the series against Bangladesh as well, including that 6-wicket haul. But the couple of questions around that. It's interesting. Is the Shikhar Dhawan decision? Does it when you're picking that up as an expert, as a player, as a commentator, does his strike rate often? You did mention that ODI he's suited more to ODIs, but does his strike rate become a concern as well for the team management when he's looking to build that innings in the short?
But if you look at Shikhar, he's all right. He's not that bad. I think he's in the late 120s or early 130. So you ideally would want him to get up to 140 or something, but I don't think that's too much of a concern. But yeah, the other argument is a left-right combination. Rohit, Shikhar. But my biggest challenge is more than Shikhar being dropped, as in Shikhar not playing. I'd say KL has earned or Rohit has earned their places as of now. So it's not about Shikhar not being well. It's just that I think KL and Rohit are better than him at this point in time. So it is not something. It's not against Shikhar. It is just that the other two seems to be in a better position right now, is what I think.
And which spots do you think are going to be the most fiercely competed for? You mentioned Jadeja not here because of his injury, Bumrah for personal reasons.
So I see a lot of questions in terms of Ahmedabad wicket and 3. I think Krishna Ganapati's asked why not 3 spinners. So has Rajesh. So has someone else, Rafael, I believe. Whatever. So my point is this: that 3 spinners can be a little tricky in T20, and especially when we're looking at due factor and everything else. So 3 spinners, you're talking about 12 out of 20 overs of spin. And India, if Hardik is not playing, as in not bowling rather, then you kind of stuck then with 5 bowlers. You've got to make sure that schemas, and with the rules and everything else. So I'd rather go with 2 spinners and 3 seamers, and Hardik bowlers. Then it's a different ball game. Then we can look at some other options. But with Hardik not bowling, I will not go with. I would prefer going in with 3 seamers rather than 3 spinners.
Yes. And also to remind our viewers that Deep DASGUPTA will be at Motera on the eve of the game, and he will, suss up the conditions and also see which way he'll obviously have a look at the Indian team training. And for me, for instance, I would like to know what sort of intensity Hardik Pandya is bowling with. That will be one of the factors to look ahead to the series. And also, like Deep has said, there will be some spots up for the grabs. There will be Surya Kumar Yadav getting his chances, but you also provided, let's say, everything goes well for India in the first couple of games, and we've taken a lead. You see the likes of Ishan Kishan getting a game, because Vikram Rathore did say that by the end of this tournament, you get the crux. You will get the crux of the T20 World Cup side.
So, Rashi, if I may add, the fact that there are 5 T20Is, and if India can manage to kind of win the series with 3-0 or up in the series 3-0 or something, that just would help India to try out a few players. So as I mean, the first and the most important thing is winning the series, and then you might just have a few places. You might just look at a few options. So this is so. I think the first two T20Is will be very, very crucial from that point of view.
Right, right. No, absolutely. And we will obviously hope that, we get to see a lot of these cricketers. They've done remarkably well, not in the IPL. And don't forget, not just the IPL, they've done well in the domestic phases of the Indian circuit as well. There is another player, obviously, we're not saying that he's in contention for an immediate national selection, but it's Devdutt Padikkal who's
Oh yeah.
done remarkably well. He's so there are a lot of these cricketers, they're coming up, not only doing well in the IPL, but making the most of the Vijay Hazare as well.
True. I mean, Devdutt's got about 400s now. Prithvi's got a few, including a double hundred. So yeah, I mean, and there are quite a few performances there, and it's just wonderful to see the youngsters coming through and youngsters kind of pushing, or kind of kind of banging on the doors of the selectors, right?
Right.
So I think it's good. I mean, obviously, the opening slot is kind of crowded right now. I mean, there are quite a few takers for that slot. The top two or top three. So yeah, I'll be interesting to see going into the future what pans out, what happens.
Yeah, scary bench strength there. It's good to have that across formats. But thank you, as usual, Deep, for joining us on this segment. We will obviously look forward to Deep DASGUPTA, Boria Mujumdar, Ridhima Pathak joining us for that pre-series analysis tomorrow at 9 p.m. because Deep will be there at the ground and we will wait for him to get us more information and updates from the venue of the T20I series. But thank you so much, as always, for joining us on the show on Sports Today. Do subscribe to the channel, to the platform, and do not forget to download the How's That app, challenge our experts, and try and beat them with this game.